Welcome back to OQLIS Quick Reference Help. Today we'll be discussing the pivot chart in the Explore options. So let's jump in and select a data model. Today I'll be using the support ticket data model, and I'm interested in seeing the number of customer interactions, and I want different group by elements such as company, maybe the priority, the status, and let's use the source. So first off, it'll be on default on bar charts, but I want to select the pivot option there. This will show a blank pivot chart because we haven't selected which field to display where. So the easiest way to make this pivot chart display more useful information and to interact with data in a grid rather than using a plain old data grid as in that icon there, the pivot grid gives you the functionality to interact and show or hide specific data and in a more intuitive way. So first let's click on this icon over here, and this will open up the field chooser. So for this instance I want to use the company as my column field, which is correct, and then I want to use customer interactions as my data field. So I'm going to drag and drop it into the data field there. I want to use my priority as a row field, as well as source as in my column field, as well as status in my row field. So as you can see in the background, it populated there. I just want to flip around the status and priority. Let's do it like that. Yes, alright. And now it shows it like this. So a nice pivot chart where you can open up the closed option to see the priority of high, low, medium and urgent, or close it. The same with open there, and waiting, the different statuses, as well as when all the companies listed from left to right and the specific source of interaction for that company, so email, phone, portal and Twitter. And then we can look at the settings on this gear icon there. So from this pop-up modal, it automatically populates this column fields, the row field and the data fields. You can either specify it manually by typing and separating by a comma. Then we can use the data field area. You can either choose it to be column or the row, but default it's at column. You can also specify the pivot default aggregate, which is currently at count, but I don't want count. I want to sum the number of customer interactions per company per all the group by elements. So there you can see it changed to sum, and you can open up that and open up that, and to see different sums of customer interactions against company 1 in the closed status or open status or waiting status. Then you can also specify specific aggregation if you have more than one element you want to aggregate over, like, and you can use default commands such as sum, average, min, max, all those normal SQL syntax you can use to specify specific aggregation for the data field. You can also specify the running totals. So for instance, if I use the customer interactions data field, so let me type that there, and now you will see it makes a running total for the data in customer interactions for company 1, which is 514, then 521 and 532, and eventually the grand total of 532 if it sums it up all together. But I don't want to use running totals in this example, so I'm just going to leave that blank, and there we go, it's back to its normal view. Next we can either specify to cross group running totals as yes or no. If you would like that option, you can specify word wrapping. So if you have more text fields in the actual data field in the middle where it cross, you can specify word wrapping yes or no, but for this I will not say no. Then we can specify the number format to either one of these formats depending on your data, but it will work using the default fixed point number format. You can also specify the precision decimals, such as, let's say, 2 decimals, and you will see all the data elements as now 2 decimals after the value. I'm just going to leave that blank. Then we can choose the column data type to be string, date or number. I'm fine with string because my column data type is just company. Then we can specify the column group interval as default, or month, quarter, year, day of week. So if you have you specify for example, a year from starting in January all the way to December with date as your column types at the top, you can specify it as a month, year or day, and it will group it accordingly. Then you can enable state storing. This will be discussed in another video, which if you enable this and you specify the specific state on the dashboard, you will have the option to actually click on a value and it redirects you to another dashboard or another Explore depending on what you specify. But for now, in this example of this video of the tutorial, I will leave this as no. You can also specify export enabled to yes. So if you want to be able to export this pivot chart to external such as Excel or CSV format, etc., you can do this export. You can also allow sorting. You can allow filtering to be yes or no. The default, this will be present in the dashboard view, not in this Explore view. You can say to expand all the fields on load, so I'm going to stick that as yes. And then we can choose to show column totals, show column grand totals, show row totals, and show row grand totals. So I'm going to start off by disabling all of them so you can see the difference in all of them. Now that all of these have been set to no, let's see what each of them do on their own. So first I'm going to set this show column totals to yes, and then we will see if we open up this, and there we will see the company 1 total for this specific company 1 across this group. The same for company 2, company 2 total there. Next, let's set this show column grand total to yes. This will reload, and column grand total will be visible way at the end of all the columns, as you see there on the right. The same for show row totals equals yes. If we do that, we will see that closed total for these rows will be that values there. If we open up that one and even waiting there, you can see the waiting total, the open total, and the closed total as row totals. You can also specify to show row grand total as yes, and then we have all of them enabled as yes. You will see the grand total, row total at the bottom there. And the last setting is cell prepared, so you can specify your own HTML code in there to customize each cell accordingly. So I'm just going to paste HTML there and it will reload. So this specifically tells the code to make the cell more green depending on its value, or rather the opacity of the cell. That's all the settings for the pivot chart. As you can see, you can interact with your chart in different ways as you would like. Remember to save your Explore. See you next time. Goodbye.